Hello there, and thank you for joining us from wherever you are. We are live from our studios here in Kokomlemle on digital address GA0992539. Our top stories this hour. National Council of Parents Teachers Association appeals for senior high students to be sent back home of fears of coronavirus spread as they cite unfulfilled PPE supply promise and lack of health personnel meant to be stationed near the schools. We have details. In prioritizing elections over human lives, that's how opposition National Democratic Congress describes efforts by the Electoral Commission to register senior high schools onto the new electoral roll, whilst they're preparing to write their final exams. We'll be hearing from the NDC. They're asking you, if you're a parent, to immediately withdraw your children. And later on the show, we're spreading some inspiration as we head to the United States of America to share in the story of a Ghanaian American who is Democrat and will be slugging it out with incumbent representative in his bid for a seat in the U.S. Congress. So how did he make it this far, and how does he move up from here? Send your thoughts and your questions through. We're live on your digital TV, also on DSTV channel 421, Go TV 144. Remember, we're streaming live on YouTube. Send in your thoughts to our other platforms. Unfortunately, I don't have my WhatsApp platform today, but let's hear from you on our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, if you're interested. My name is Gifty Andopia. This is The Pulse. Please be my guest. Welcome to the show. I'm starting right off with the inspiration. He's a child of Ghanaian immigrants in the United States of America, where he was born, studied law, but loves to teach. Kindergarten teacher, I must be specific. Today, he's looking forward to the American elections in November, when he hopes to beat the incumbent Republican candidate so that he can represent his Oklahoma district. Kojo Samoa Caesar is my guest today, and I'm hoping you'll be inspired and uplifted by his story. Better still, you can convince those you know in the U.S. to vote for him in November. So let's get to it. Kojo, it's good to have you, and good afternoon to you from Ghana. I know it's morning where you are. Let's begin with a brief profile for our audience who have yet to hear about you.
Yeah, Gifty, thank you for having me. My name is Kojo Samoa Caesar. My parents immigrated from Ghana to the United States in about 1983. Came here chasing the American dream, sacrificed. They weren't able to fulfill their dream, but I was able to go to great public schools, go on to college, be the first in my family to graduate from college, then go on to law school at the College of William and Mary, which is the oldest law school in the United States. And then after graduating law school, decided to become a kindergarten teacher because, my parents had really beat into me this notion of the American dream. And I wanted to make sure that that American dream was real, not just for me, but for kids all around this country. And so became a kindergarten teacher. And have had a great experience there. And now I am running for Congress to represent the 1st Congressional District of Oklahoma. And I actually won the Democratic primary, becoming the first Ghanaian American to represent a major party here in the United States for Congress. And so I'm excited to move on to November and win the race in November.
It's interesting the way you put it, and I am eager to understand how it works. Here in Ghana, we have a parliament, so we vote for our parliamentary representatives, and then we vote for a president. In the parliament, we have the majority, and the minority. Help us, if you were to describe the Senate and Congress election system to the Ghanaian who does not follow American politics, how would you describe it? Let's just break it down.
Yeah, so here we have 3 main branches of government, right? So we have the executive, then we have the legislative, and the judicial. So the presidential level is the executive, then the legislative level is our Congress, which is similar to Parliament in Ghana. And we have 2 chambers in Congress. We have the House of Representatives and the Senate. All right, and then the judicial branch is the judges. And so I'm running for Congress, which is the legislative branch, and I'm running for the United States House of Representatives. And so we have 50 states, and each state sends a delegation to Washington, D.C. to represent them in Congress. And so I'm in Oklahoma. Here we have five people who represent us in Congress. And so I'm in the first district. We have five districts. I'm in the first congressional district here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And so were I to win, I would be going to Washington to represent the interest of Oklahomans in Washington, D.C.
It's interesting. So you won the election in Oklahoma. What do you think make you win? What did you think that made you win back then? Is it that you have a large Ghanaian, American population? What worked for you?
Yeah, so I won we have Republicans and Democrats. And so first we have the primary election to see who's going to represent each party. So I was able to win the Democratic nomination to represent the Democrats in the general election in November. And actually, the district is about 70% white and only about 10% Black and about 12% Hispanic, right? And so we don't have a lot of Black folks in the district, and we don't have a lot of Ghanaian American folks in the district. In fact, I'm the first Black nominee from the district. I'm the first Ghanaian American, if you can believe it, who would be in Congress if I was to win, and the first one to have won the nomination. And so I was able to do it by telling my story and telling the story of the American dream and what really makes America great, all right? And the opportunities that I had to be able to fulfill my potential and how we need to make those opportunities available to more and more people, all right? And that if we have people like me succeed, then that means that everybody else can succeed. All right. So that's how we're able to do that.
That's an inspirational story, but we want to get more of that inspiration when we do the linkages, the Ghanaian and the American linkages. I wanted to know about the Democratic tussle that you had to deal with before you even got here in the first place. How many people did you compete with, for example, and how did it go at that level?
Yeah, it's tough because I'm a Ghanaian American. My parents are immigrants. I'm a Black guy, and I'm running for Congress in Oklahoma. So it's going to be tough because, nobody's really done that. So initially, there's a lot of pushback. And I heard a lot of comments about, we don't know if he's the right face. I don't know if Oklahomans will be able to get behind this guy, But we announced early. We were the first to announce way back in November. And we went straight to the people, right? We didn't go to the media, the gatekeepers and kiss the ring. We went to the people because in a democracy, one man, one vote, right? Everybody has a vote. And so we went to the people, we shared our story, our values, and then we listened to them and their stories, right? And the people got behind us. And once the people get behind you, right, nobody can really stop that. And so we were able to, when other elected officials who were looking at running saw that we had the people behind us, a lot of them backed off and said, okay, we're going to go with them. But I had one challenger. So about 3 other people stepped out and decided not to run. But one person did challenge me in the primary, and we were able to win. We got 64% of the vote. That's 34,830 votes to win the primary.
Wow. So this person, was he, I don't mean to get all the racist thing going, but this person, was he Black? Was he white? Was he Hispanic?
He was a white man, in his, 40s, 50s. He's a lawyer and small business owner, engineer. So, but we were able to defeat him in the primary. All right.
And now you're looking to get into the House of Representatives by beating Kevin Henn, who is the incumbent Republican representative. He's a businessman. And I'm sure that he's been doing this for a while. He's got the executive, so certainly that's going to be backing him. How do you intend to scale through?
Yeah, well, he's a freshman congressman. He owns McDonald's franchises around town, but this is the first term that he's serving. And we are very excited about our contrast with him because we are very much about public service, right? I've dedicated and committed myself to serving the interests of the public, going from law school to become a kindergarten teacher, being a principal of a school here in our urban school district, serving entrepreneurs in Tulsa. He seems to be somebody who's only interested in serving himself and serving the interests of the rich, right? All he does is trumpet Donald Trump. Whatever Donald Trump says goes. So he's, committed his destiny to Donald Trump. And Donald Trump is not doing so well, right? We've had a global pandemic that he's mishandled. The economy has gone into the tanks because of that. And then we have this, Black Lives Matter movement that is sweeping across our nation, this racial unrest, and he has not responded well to that. All he's done is, stoke fears and seek to divide our nation. And so for us, we're seeking to bridge the divide. We're seeking to bring people together. We believe that America is a nation of immigrants. And what makes us great is when we come together to serve the common good. And so that's a message that Oklahomans understand, and we believe they'll show support to us in November.
Okay, well, I can't wrap up this conversation without bringing it home. In fact, that's really my motive for having this conversation. I want Ghanaian young men, Ghanaian young women who are, here in Ghana, who are saying that somebody can do it, work it out all the way to the top, then I can too. So I want you to throw in a little bit of inspiration to our young people. You've spoken to my colleague, Joseph Opoku Gakpo, and you indicated that the last time you visited Ghana, you felt this inferiority complex, defeatism attitude. How did it manifest to you?
Yeah, I think, I remember driving through Kaneshi Market, in the taxi and just, seeing the expression on people's faces and then driving through certain neighborhoods and, seeing that. But I think we have to, it's not our fault, right? That, we just look around us and sometimes we feel defeated when we don't see successful people who look like us, right? And so I'm glad to represent that sense of hope, that sense of possibility. I want Ghanaians to know that I'm just like you. I'm no smarter than you. I'm not better than you. I'm not more special than you, right? And you have the same kind of potential I have. And for our leaders, it's about building communities of opportunity, right? We have to build a great education system where our young people can learn and grow, right? And become all that they want to be, and be able to attract investment, be able to attract businesses, be able to give people the chance to start businesses, right? So they can, bring their talents and their creative abilities to bear. And so I want to say it's okay to dream and dream big. You are worthy of your dreams and you can fulfill them. And last thing is, when you seek to do something different, you're gonna get a lot of naysayers. They may even be your parents. And your parents want your best interest, but they're scared, because they've never seen somebody do it before. But you have to realize at the end of the day, it's your life, right? And you're the one that has that small voice in your head telling you how great you are, telling you all the dreams and ideas you have. So you got to trust that voice and work hard, commit yourself to working hard to actualize those dreams. And once you do, it's not going to just help you, it's going to help everybody around you. It's going to help your family. It's going to help your neighborhood and your community and your country, and you're going to make everybody proud. So that's what I'm trying to do, and that's what I hope everybody else will dedicate themselves to doing.
I hope that works for people, and I hope that they will hear it, because there's people who hear some of these things and they say, well, that's your perfect motivational speech. But if I look at my life and I look at my situation, I think I need a lot more than that. I certainly hope that this works for some people. But do you speak Twi at all?
A little bit, yeah. I speak Twi, they say if you don't speak it, you lose it. But me country in the way I'm used to, but I speak it a little.
Oh, nice. That sounds quite impressive. And I hope you're teaching your little child, right?
Yes, yes. And quick surprise, she's actually here with me. She's asleep in my arms, while I do this interview.
I almost said romantic. No, that's actually very touching.
Yes.
Wow.
13 weeks old.
Oh, the things that cameras can do. It's been good having you, Kojo. But for the Ghanaians who have relatives and friends in the U.S. who will be voting in that election, for spending your time with us, I want you to use this platform as well to convince people to go out in November to vote for you.
Yes, thank you so much for the opportunity. So, Ghanaian Americans all around the United States, right? Can get involved. You can go to my website, kojoforcongress.com, KOJOFOR Congress.com. Learn more about our platform to build an America as great as it's promised. And then you can donate and actually support. Because, you know, I am running to represent Oklahomans, but if I'm able to win, I represent hope for a lot of, you know, Ghanaian Americans all around our country. I can tell our story and tell that, you know, we are not to be left out of this. We are part of the American story. We contribute to this country and its greatness, all right? And we can't, and democracy is not a spectator sport. We can't just sit on the sidelines, right? When I was growing up, the message was kind of like, you know, this is not your country. You know, don't ruffle feathers, just, you know, stay under the radar. But we can't stay under the radar. We have to speak. We're part of this country. We pay taxes just like anybody else. And so you can support my campaign and I'll be a champion for you, just as I'm a champion for Oklahomans and Americans all around the country.
Kojo, thank you so much for your time, and I sincerely wish you all the best because I want to sell that story to all the Ghanaian young men and women that I see here to let them know that if you did it, they can too. Kojo Asamoah Caesar is my special guest for today. He's Ghanaian American. He wants to remove from the House of Representatives a Republican incumbent. We wish him all the best. Now let's come home and do our own internal politics. Some NDC party agents in the Ablekuma West constituency are demanding the withdrawal of a registration officer as they accuse him of giving out cards to persons whose eligibility they have challenged. They say the applicants are not residents of the constituency, hence they followed the process to get the registration officer not to give them their cards. But he gave it out on their blind side.
The Anglican Church Registration Center, very close to the Riches of Glory Academy, still in the Ablekuma West constituency. What we've seen right now, there's a long queue here at this particular registration center, quite different from what we saw at the Star of the Sea Roman Catholic Basic School. It's a very long queue, and this is just the outside. There are quite a number of people also sitting inside, waiting to be registered. I have a woman here who says she's been waiting here she's been here since 1 a.m. So,
don't let me get angry.
Okay, it looks like some disagreements happening here.
Let me give you
Okay, well, what's
let me give you an interview.
What's your name?
I'm Nino Tenoti.
And you are?
I'm the NDC Constituency Secretary for Ablekuma West.
Okay, what's the problem?
The issue that transpired right now
what issue
is that the arrow for this center, you know, per the protocols of this process, when a challenge form is filled against anybody, the person is allowed to go through the process, but their voter's ID card is retained. It's not given to them. You understand? My agents, the NDC agents, filled a challenge form against some people who have been buzzed in.
Okay.
They have been buzzed in. And there was clear proof the people admitted they are not coming from the constituency, they were buzzed in. You understand? So they filled a form against the people. The arrow gave them their voters' ID cards. The people on the ground seized the cards from the people because challenge forms have been filled. They later gave the cards to the arrow because he knows he must do what? Keep the cards. Yeah. You understand? He, the arrow, gave the cards secretly to some people to give to the people, and they left with the cards. We have people who have been buzzed in from various places, from the eastern region, from Tema Station, from Agbogboloshi, from wherever.
This is an illegality of the UCs. This is an irresponsible thing he have done, which we demand an immediate response that the UC should withdraw this guy. We cannot go on to work with this guy here. Because going on to work with this guy here is going to create the same problem for us.
Closer. Let's get closer to the registration officer you're talking about. You're accusing of helping persons who are not residents here to register. Let's find out from him what he makes of these allegations. Sir, you're welcome to join us.
I can't make any comment until I get information from my boss.
Come again,
until I get information from my boss.
So you don't want to respond to it? No. You don't want to respond to it?
These people,
but they've made a lot of allegations against you.
The card has been given free to them. These are the form. We have challenged the form. These are the form.
Hello, sir. Look, they've made specific allegations that you brought in some people from Ofanko.
Please, I'm not granting any interview.
These are Brookmore West. It's
You're not granting any
Brookmore West.
interview.
Look, it's a Brookmore West. Look,
we're trying to get some. We're trying to get some.
illegality
We're trying to get some response
which we
from the
demand that it should
registration.
take off here.
We're trying to get some response from the registration officer, but he says that unfortunately he cannot respond to this allegation. So let's get closer and speak to the assistant director. Let him respond to some of these allegations that have been made against him. So you're welcome to JoyNews.
An allegation has been made against me?
Yeah, he's alleging
I've not
that.
heard anything.
He's alleging that some persons were challenged. They came to register here. He's alleging that they were bussed in here to come and register, and their eligibility was challenged by the party agent here. But contrary to what's supposed to be the norm, their cards were given to them, although their registration, their eligibility as residents here have been challenged.
Well said. I was invited here, I was called. I came in to investigate, to know the truth of it. I have not finished the investigation, so I cannot really respond to it. I have to really look at what has happened, because I wasn't here. As a supervisor, I'm supposed to be at other places. So we would investigate and then we get back to you.
But we understand that you're in the know, you're aware that the cards have been given to these persons whose eligibility has been challenged.
I am investigating. I just came here in the middle of the discussion, then he went and granted interview. So I'm investigating.
Okay, so aside from the investigations, have you also heard or have you seen some persons being bussed to this constituency to register?
Not to my knowledge. I haven't seen that.
You've not seen anything like that?
Interview my agent as well.
Okay. Okay.
Because I already know the time that was done. He can tell you the time that was done. Probably I wasn't here. I just arrived here because of this complaint.
Okay.
The officers called me, so I'm here purposely for this complaint. Okay. And I have just started, so that's why I can't really answer to it.
Nice cue there as well. Masola Gbagba with that report. In the meantime, voter registration at various centers in the Greater Accra region have been hitch-free, as the Electoral Commission says it has 98% successfully fixed the challenge encountered during yesterday's exercise. Here is a registration officer at one of the centers in the Ablekuma South constituency, Ama Baku.
It's going on smoothly. Everybody is where he or she is supposed to be and doing what he or she is supposed to be doing. Yeah.
So tell me, we know about the queue management system. I want to find out how you are implementing that here and how effective is that?
Well, we are doing our best for the social distancing to be observed and the protocols. Everything should be put in place. But human as we are, there are flaws here and there. Okay. So we are managing it.
Okay. So what will be your assessment of the social distancing that we are seeing here? Is that impressive? Are you impressed with what you see?
Well, with what we have at our disposal now, we are doing our best. We are doing our best, yeah.
Well, let me just say that I'm quite impressed by how all of them are wearing their masks, at least, you know. Yeah.
We are insisting on the mask. Okay. When you come to the gate, we have told the security people that if you don't have your mask, you shouldn't come inside. So the face mask is very important before you can come inside.
And you've given them papers with your numbers written, on them. That's for the queue management system. Tell me, how's that going? And describe how you're implementing that.
It's helping a lot because some people come very early in the morning. Sometimes around 3 o'clock, and somebody will come around 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning and would like to come in before that one. So with the papers with the numbers on, it tells you who came first.
A lot of that coming up. Still watching the Pulse and Give 10 up here. I'm going to take a very quick break. When I return, we'll be talking about registration, which has to do also with students to school. Well, the National Council of Parents Teachers Association is appealing for senior high students to be sent back home over fears of coronavirus spread, as they cite unfulfilled PPE supply promises and lack of health personnel meant to be stationed near the schools. I have the details now. I'll also be joined by President of the Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools, Alhaji Yakub A. Abubakari. We'll talk about that right after this. Welcome back to the show. Many thanks for staying with us. Now, JoyNews is learning that more senior high schools in the country are recording new cases of COVID-19. This afternoon, we take a look at the distribution of PPEs in schools as it's emerging that some final year SHS students have yet to get theirs. Here is a news desk report that looks at the situation in some schools, especially in the Northeast and Oti regions.
Some senior high schools in the country are yet to take delivery of government-sponsored personal protective equipment 3 weeks after reopening, despite several assurances. JoyNews' checks reveal hundreds of students are in schools without face masks as they risk contracting the virus. At the Sugru Junior High School in Walewale in the Northeast region, a student had covered his face with a black polythene bag because they had not received any face mask from government.
Have not given us nose mask, so I am begging for the president to give us nose mask before we stop using these polythene bags.
After I don't have money to buy one, so I'm begging the president to help us to get face masks to provide the spread of COVID-19.
I want to tell the president that we don't have nose masks in our school and want nose masks to wear to prevent the spreading of the virus.
Some schools in the Oti region are also yet to get full complement of the PPE. Students have received at least 2 face masks from government. Speaking to Emefa Pao on the Beyond the Lockdown show on JoyNews Sunday evening, the Information Minister Kojo Ponkuma said 3.6 million reusable face masks have been distributed to schools across the country.
We have delivered about 3.6 million pieces of reusable face masks to these persons who are in school. 3.6 million of them. Take hand sanitizers. The units that have been delivered go across about 1.7 million of them. It's taken a number of weeks, an extensive exercise across the country, over 18,000 institutions across the country.
You said you were giving 3 each. Have they received them?
My understanding is that they have. If there are any challenges, we'll be happy to know so that we can deal with them. Take thermometer guns, almost 50,000 of them, so that we can continue with the screening exercise from Buipe through Hamile to Axim and ensure that for every single school, while they have the sanitizers, they have the masks, they have the Veronica buckets, almost 70,000 of those Veronica buckets, almost 130,000 units of liquid soap, another 130,000 units of tissue paper to ensure that hygiene and protection on campuses takes place. Apart from that, and because of the regular screening, they are in a position to determine if there's a suspected case. And I've put in place an elaborate process for ensuring that if there's a suspected case, this is how we deal with it. The challenge that has come up is that in some instances, there have been suspected cases or reports of suspected cases or reports of cases that have been communicated in a way to parents and students that has heightened anxiety, when in many of those cases, it turns out to be untrue. And I want to share with you, this is the executive brief I have on the situation in the schools. Recall the president instructed last week that a subcommittee be set up of about 6 persons to engage the specifics. I'll give you, for example, Accra Girls Senior High School. We had a big, scary conversation about Accra Girls Senior High School. The news was broken in such a way that you had parents rush to the gate in a way that some of the parents were even putting themselves at risk. You had students who even didn't know the specific numbers and how it was being contained, who then gathered and were putting themselves at risk. And that's why we say in all of these things, let's spread calm and not fear. Because when we spread calm and we engage on the issues one by one, we will see the clarity.
Spreading calm but not fear. What is your take on that? Drop us a message on our Facebook platform. But I have President of the Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools, Alhaji Yakub Abukari, who is joining me via Zoom. Sir, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Good afternoon.
For having me.
Let's start with how many schools you have noticed from your checks that do not have the PPEs as promised by government.
Thank you very much. As far as Charles is concerned, we are in link with all the schools in the country. And we have a platform at regional level and national level where we receive information on issues like this. So far, we haven't received information from our regional chairs that indicates that some schools have not received the PPEs. What rather happened was that some schools received their shortage of the numbers they were expecting. And they have made this known to the respective regional directors of education. Taking Ashanti region, for example, as we speak, the regional director of education has received new consignment of these PPEs and has informed all headmasters in Ashanti region that if you are a school and you didn't get the full complement of your PPEs, do well to contact her office so that the shortfall is given to you. And I hope the same applies to other regions in the country. So as far as CHAS is concerned, we are not aware of any school in the country that has not received its PPEs. Maybe they received it in short, and the additional ones have, as I speak to you, been sent to the regions to be given to them so that it will make up the shortfalls.
Isn't it worrying to you that we were told that everything has been planned, there is not going to be any delays, etc., and it looked like we really sincerely had everything under control? Doesn't it bother you that after all of that, some of the schools still have what you're describing as a shortage whilst you wait to get the response from your officers on the ground?
Yes, that is very true, that it is quite worrying, because ideally we should get everything beforehand so that we can plan and execute our things very well. But unfortunately, you are dealing with human institutions, and sometimes some of these things happen which are beyond your control. So we have understood it that with the few that we were given, that is 2 each to staff and students, and all the others, the Veronica buckets, the sanitizers, the tissue papers, and what have you that were given, we were told to manage with that so that the remaining ones that were not enough will be brought later. And as I told you, Ashanti region, we have received ours. So it is not the best situation that we've not received the full complement of what we were expecting at the beginning. But we understand that it could be one of the shortfalls of the human beings. And since we have started receiving them now, we think it's okay, we can manage with the situation.
Elijah, let me ask you about the management protocols that the schools have been told to use. I mean, what is a protocol? What is the laid down rules and regulations? What are you supposed to do if you're a teacher, somebody shows symptoms, or a student reports, you know, something? What is the protocol? Can you help us follow?
Yes, thank you very much. The protocols are that currently in almost all the schools, I'm using almost all because we are expected, but we are hearing there are some few schools that it hasn't taken place yet. We are expected to constitute a COVID-19 team. And this COVID-19 team have been briefed on how to go about issues should a suspected case come up. All our schools have also been mapped to health facilities closer to our schools. The intention or idea behind it is that should any case come up that is suspected, we quickly get in touch with these health facilities so that they will come to the school, examine the situation, and if they need to carry the student to their outfit for further examination, they do that. In our schools also, we've been given health nurses who are currently in the various schools assisting us with health issues. So when the students report of not being well, these nurses are able to examine them, and if per their examination they feel that the students need further examination because the symptoms indicate that they are signs of COVID-19, they refer such students to be taken to the health facilities that we've been attached to, or the authorities from health facility come to the school to examine the students further. And where it is observed and suspected strongly that it is so, they take the student to such facilities and then continue with whatever treatment or attention that the students deserve. These are the protocols that we observe at our school level. So therefore, the COVID-19 teams that are in our school They make sure that sensitization of students go on every now and then. We have prepared posters and put them across the school. During dining hall, we try to educate them the more before their meals and sometimes after the meals.
Okay.
And we've also told our teachers, when they are in the classrooms, before they even start their lessons, they take the first 5 minutes or thereabout just to talk to the students and let them know the seriousness of the situation and how everybody should be very careful and go by the protocols.
Okay, so
at the school level, we make sure that these students wear the nose masks. The same applies to our teachers and non-teaching staff. They also wear the nose masks, and then we keep the social distance. These are all part of the protocols of the COVID-19, which we observe at the school level.
Okay. Having said that, you indicated that you are speaking from the Ashanti region. So I'd like for you to, now that you've listed for us this protocol, comment on what happened at the KNUST-SHS.
Thank you very much. To begin with, let me say it was most unfortunate, the incident at KNUST-SHS. If indeed the protocol had been followed, to a large extent, these unfortunate happenings wouldn't have taken place.
So you're convinced that the protocols were not followed?
Yes, of course, because when the child was not well and was brought to the attention of school administration, first and foremost, call was placed to the health facility and the response was delayed. And the parent of the child who was called to come to the school, I felt ideally, since there were some delays, nothing stopped the school from organizing official vehicle from the school and conveying the child to the health facility that the school was mapped to, so that the child would have received early attention and the unfortunate thing could have been averted.
And right now we're told that some, where are we with the investigations that are being conducted on the back of this unfortunate story?
The body to investigate has been constituted, and it is tomorrow that it will be inaugurated. Then they begin with their investigation process, to the best of my knowledge.
So who is on this investigative committee?
I do not vividly know the individual that constitutes it, but I'm very much aware that Charles has a representation on the committee.
So who is representing Charles on this committee? Yourself?
It's not me, it is the Deputy Ashanti Regional Chairman.
Okay.
In the person of lawyer Dr. Ba.
Okay.
He's a headmaster of one of our schools in Ashanti region here.
Okay, and the committee will be inaugurated, you say, tomorrow for them to begin the investigations.
Very well.
In the meantime, what is happening on the campus? Do you know?
For now, there is calm and peace on campus. Teaching and learning is going on. The students have been spoken to and they are calm. And virtually, life is moving smoothly on campus there. Of course, we cannot rule out the fact that there is some level of fear and anxiety as a result of what has happened.
Yeah, by all means. But let me bring your attention to, you spoke about all these protocols. I bring your attention to what the National Council of Parent Teachers Association is saying. They are asking for government to send the children or send the students back home. And they don't just say this. They make the argument that they've noted that some of the schools have not received PPEs. The schools which have received did not get the full supply. The COVID-19 protocols, especially social distancing and wearing of nose masks, are not being adhered to by these students, and that there aren't enough health personnel who are supposed to be stationed in the schools. They are looking at all of these, and they say that more worrying is the fact that despite good counsel and encouragement, most parents insist that their children should be brought home. And following all of this, they are asking that the schools, the government should allow their children to go back home. What is Charles' position on this? Well,
Charles' position on this is that I think authorities, and when I say authorities here, I'm referring to GS managers, Ministry of Education, and maybe the government. We'll study the situation and take the appropriate measures. But looking at the situation as we have it now, we are able to manage the students to the best of our abilities within the environs of our schools. Should parents insist that the children should be sent home now, what states are the children in that they are going home? Are we 100% sure that all of them are COVID-19 free, and for that matter, they are going home?
Is this
or
a matter
some of them
testing?
have the virus and they are going back to their homes to maybe infect others with it.
But that will be a matter of testing, isn't it? Testing and letting them go back should work, wouldn't it work?
So in other words, therefore, before they talk of children going home, they should ensure that testing has taken place on all students in their respective schools. And when we are sure that nobody has anything like that, and the issue of going home is going to be considered, then that is done. But to stand at the blue and just say all children must be allowed to go home, I don't think that will solve the problem. It may compound it rather.
The PTA also indicates that the children, we send them back there to prepare for WASI and BEC. They say that they are psychologically unstable at this moment. I'm getting from what you're saying that Charles is okay if we can test these students, and if they're positive, negative, we can let them go back home. That's okay with Charles.
From the grounds, we don't see any serious psychological problem with the students such that they cannot continue with their learning. In fact, the children or the students are anxious and they are going about their study, preparing for their examination. And we are sure the children would prefer that as again being asked to go home and the examination postponed or whatever.
There are a number of countries that have decided that they're not doing this anymore. They've pulled out of the WASI, for example. Kenya, we know, has done that. I mean, there's Nigeria, to be specific, for West Africa, which has also pulled out. Why does Ghana think that we can deal with this when there are examples around us that probably we can't?
Thank you very much. From the beginning, Ghana had decided alone to go about it as a Ghana examination. Then later, since Ghana is always a pace setter, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, Liberia, the Gambia agreed to also join us. So if at some point they have assessed their situation and they feel they cannot continue and have pulled out, we are not using Nigeria, I think, as a yardstick to determine what we should do. If we as a country have already decided on it earlier, even before Nigeria decided to join us, and at some point they think they cannot handle their situation and so they are withdrawing, that should not be a yardstick for us to also say because Nigeria is withdrawing, we should also do the same. We should rather allow Ghana to do its own assessment, and like I rightly said, if education authorities with government come to the conclusion that we cannot go any further and so we should put a stop there, well and good. But we shouldn't use, to the best of my understanding, a different country standards to access ourselves.
Now, I'm just interested in Charles's position, and that's because Charles is a key stakeholder. And so if Charles, that's working on the ground, can assess the situation and say, and advise the policymakers and decision takers and say, this is not okay, then perhaps we'll be heading somewhere. This is why we bring it to you as Charles.
Thank you very much. So at this stage, per our assessment, we think we can manage the situation and move on.
Okay.
And let the children write the examination, God willing, when the time comes. But moving forward, should situations become worse, then that is a different scenario altogether. But if it is what we have on our hands now, we think it is manageable.
About 10 schools, we understand, have recorded cases. That's manageable?
Yes, against over 700 senior high schools in the country.
Very well. This afternoon, the opposition NDC has, they organized a press conference. At that press conference, they say that we're putting the lives of these students in danger, and they are urging parents to withdraw their children from school. What's your reaction to that?
Well, we don't go to the political side of it because that is left with the politicians to do their argument. You've asked me what is Charles's own assessment of the situation. And I've told you that as far as Charles is concerned, we think as of now, the situation is manageable. So we can move on and let classes go on with the children so that they eventually write their examination. But as to what any political party has said, that one we don't go into those areas, please.
But essentially, from what you're saying, you don't agree with the position that withdraw the children from school, which is what the NDC is saying.
No, you are saying that. I'm saying that
I'm just asking a question.
Is a manageable situation for us for now. I'm not saying we do not agree with any other person, please.
I mean, I get what you mean, and I get that you really have to veer off, meddling into politics. But essentially, that's what it is. And I'm grateful that you answered that question for me. So, at this moment, it is manageable. That's Charles's position. You say that the children are. You don't have any evidence to show that the children are psychologically unstable to be able to write the exams. Have you been in touch with the PTA, the council? National Council of PTA?
As of now, the council has not contacted me yet.
Okay.
But we are in touch with our respective school PTAs, and we are working in conjunction with them to ensure that the school runs smoothly.
Okay. Well, I'll say a very big thanks to you. I'll say a very big thanks to you for your time this afternoon. And I hope that we're able to manage this sincerely, devoid of the politics, devoid of the journalism and everything. I sincerely hope that we'll be able to handle this properly. Thank you. I've been talking to the president of the Conference of Assistant Heads of Secondary School, Alhaji Yakub Abubakar. Meanwhile, though, fresh cases of COVID-19 are now being reported in senior high schools, as you are well aware of. Western Regional Director of Health, Dr. Jacob Mahama, confirmed the new cases in SHS in the Western region.
Actually, it's not only Archbishop Porter girls. They have only one case. There were actually 19 suspected cases, and then when we send the samples to the lab, only one turned out to be positive. The rest are all actually negative. And social distancing is okay in the school. Everything is going on well. But we have other schools. We have about 7 schools that have got confirmed cases. In the East Axim, it's one of those schools of 14 associated cases that we took Wednesday to Accra, and 8 of them were positive. 5 are still pending. And you have Shama has one associated case, it was negative. St. John's Secondary School, 1 case positive. And Adiambra, 8 associated cases, 2 turned out positive, 6 were negative. And then the Hunterman girls, 6 suspected and 2 positive. The rest negative. So these are the schools that we have in the region actually positive.
Now, as a directorate, since you started reporting these cases, have you been able to connect the dots as to how the cases may have trickled in together, so to speak?
We work with them closely. For instance, one from Net and they actually, just at the beginning of the opening that they had it, and then we believe they brought from home, there were 6. And they are now actually going to be discharged tomorrow. They're actually fine now. And there's no case again, there's no complaints from any of the students, and social distancing is fine.
So that's for the Western region. We're learning that Mauli, Bishop Herman, and 2 other senior high schools in the Volta region have also recorded new cases. Fred Kwame Asare is our correspondent in that region. He joins me on Zoom as well. Fred, what more can you report? You're muted, it looks like, Fred. Let's unmute and continue with the discussion. You're muted.
Yeah, hello, good. Can you hear me?
Yes, I do. Let's go on.
All right, so like you rightly mentioned, 4 schools in the Volta region have recorded cases of COVID-19. We have the Babala Senior High School recorded 3 cases, Mauli Senior High School recorded 3, Mauko recorded 1, and then Bishop Herman College in Bambi also recorded a case. We are told that the situation is being managed. When the cases were recorded, the infected persons were moved to isolation centers where they are being taken care of. We are told that most of them are being housed at the isolation center in Ho. And then also their parents have been contacted, and then they have been assured of the safety of their children. We also told that about 50,000 students reported for to be reported to school to prepare for their final examination. Their parents have been contacted and then assured that the health directorate is handling the situation to ensure that other students are not infected. We also told the authorities that the Ghana Education Service and then the Ghana Health Service are collaborating to contain the spread of the virus so that other students are not infected as well. We also told that I spoke to Dr. Ajokote earlier, and he mentioned that they are trying to ensure that students are not terrified, they are not stressed, they are mentally fit for their exam. So they are being sensitized and then to ensure that they are mentally, psychologically, and physically fit to prepare for their exam. So that is the current situation here in the Delta.
That must be very difficult for them, seeing their colleagues testing positive. What sort of reactions are coming up among the students, if you've had the chance to interact with any of them?
Well, earlier I was on the campus to speak to the authority. They didn't allow me access to the campus. They didn't even want to speak on the issue. So I was not able to speak to any of the students. But then they directed me to the Ghana Education Director here in the Volta Regional Capital, that whatever information I need, I should go to the director and then speak or get that information. So I was not able to speak to the students. But then I should say that they were going about their normal duties. I saw some of them going to class and then holding their pictures, going about their normal duties like nothing has happened.
I see. And for parents or other people who live in this part of the region, how do they take it? Is it okay for them?
Come again with the question.
The parents, I mean, apart from the parents, generally people within the community, the communities where these schools are sited, how do they react to it?
Well, some people have the view that they should allow the children to go back home since they reported back to school and then they are recording cases or they are getting infected. They have the view that the students should be allowed to go back home. But then other people are also of the view that they should allow the students to stay on the campus, because if they allow them to go back home and then, for instance, maybe one of them has already gotten infected with the virus but then didn't show symptoms, and then he or she goes back home and then transmits it to other people, it is not the best. So they are also saying that they should allow the students to stay on campus and then they should be monitored closely. Whenever they see symptoms or whoever reports symptoms of the virus would be taken care of and then sent to an isolation center. So there are divergent views here in the Volta region, I should say. Some people have the view that the students should be sent back home, while others are also saying that they should maintain them on campus and then monitor them closely to curb or contain the spread of the virus.
Fred, thank you for that update. Fred Kwame Asare there, who will bring us more as and when they happen. But what is the situation in the basic schools? I mean, these are much more older students, if you like, but there are also those who are supposed to be writing the BECE. They are much, much younger. What's happening there? I have on phone Mercy Akaida Anwembe. She's president of the Conference of Heads of Basic Schools. Mercy, thank you for your time this afternoon. Can you update us on what the situation is on the ground in the basic schools? Hi, Mercy, do you hear me?
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Good afternoon to you and your viewers. Now, at the basic level, and so far, so good, things are going on well. We have received our PPAs, though not the full complement has been received, but we are making do with what we are having now. Students are in school, and the few challenges we are experiencing now is that, especially around the rural areas, some of them have come to school pregnant, some reported pregnant, and some too have gone to the urban areas to do kaya and other things. So we are now liaising with parents to see how that we can get those people to come back. And people to schools that have pregnant candidates, teachers are liaising with the guidance and counseling coordinators in the school and at the various education officers to come around and counsel the pregnant students. So for now, those are the two challenges we are having.
See. And how are you addressing these challenges? Have you, taken them up to a higher authority?
Yes, that's what I said. We have communicated that to the various district education officers, municipal and metro, so that we have guidance and counseling coordinators there.
Right.
So we are looking at getting them to go around the schools and then counsel such as students, because it's not easy for them to come back. Sometimes you see that some of them are not that comfortable, but they are also supposed to be in school. So we are liaising with the directorate to help us with that regard.
Okay. Mercy, I'm grateful that you joined us this afternoon. Sincere apologies to our viewers. The sound wasn't that audible. But essentially, she's saying that they've received some of the PPEs, a similar story as you may have heard from what's happening at the senior high school level. They've received some PPEs, but essentially they're not enough. He said that they've raised the issue with higher authorities. Mercy there, she's a head of the assisted basic schools, talking to us there. In the meantime, the last few hours, we've been getting a press statement from the National Council of Parent Teachers Association, and they are demanding that BEC and WASI should be postponed. They also want all the schools closed, and I refer to some of a part of the statement when I was talking to the CHAS president. So that's the statement. Essentially, they say that they've noticed a few things, and they list them there, that not all schools have received the personal protective equipment as promised by government. The schools which have received supplies don't get the full supplies. The COVID-19 safety protocols are being disregarded, especially social distancing. There aren't enough health personnel stationed at the schools. They're also saying that there's inadequate space in some of the on some of the campuses as a result of overcrowding in dormitories. And they say that even though the initial communication to parents from government showed that or indicated that day students in boarding schools would be converted to boarders, that did not happen. They say day students continue to remain at home and they are commuting to and from school, making them more susceptible to getting infected and increasing the probability of infection for the others in the school. They also say that what for them is more worrying is the fact that despite good counsel and encouragement, most parents insist that their children should be brought home. And so essentially they are calling on government to allow for that to happen. They say that in the current circumstances, the children are psychologically unstable and would therefore not be able to write the WASI and BEC examinations successfully. So they're suggesting the exams be postponed until the situation is brought under control. So let's get to those who issued this statement and get more from them. I have on telephone Alexander Yaudanso. He's the national president of the National Council of Parent Teachers Association. Mr. Danso, thank you for your time this afternoon.
Thank you, too, my dear.
You're saying that government should allow the children to go home. Now, the arguments, which even scientists or people who have backed it with science are saying that once you brought them together, some of them have tested positive. Taking them back means now going out to spread the disease. What do you make of that?
Thank you very much. Good evening to your listeners. Taking them back to their various homes will increase the spread, right? Mm. So if we allow them to stay to the end of their period and they go back, they are infected and they go back, wouldn't they spread it? They say...
So can you say that again? I lost you briefly.
What I'm saying is that if we are saying that they have been brought in, taking them back will result in mass infestation. What happens if we allow them to stay in, and at the end of the day, almost, some of them are infected? Wouldn't they go and then spread the virus in their families and all that? They say a state takes time. Why do we have to wait? Ghana started 2, 3, 4, 9, 7, and now we are counting 24,000. We are counting 24,000, just as it has started. Schools are recording, increase in the infestation of the virus. And we say we should keep them till when?
Oh, okay, so your statement indicates that you want government to shut down the schools and, and let them go. How do you want that to happen? You want that to happen immediately?
How did they bring them out? Didn't they announce it? They announced it, and parents brought their children and them. And so if they announce that, yes, we have suspended the WASI exams, they will go back. Parents will come for their children, and then they will go back to.
And that doesn't sound to you like a situation that can spread the disease even further?
You mean, that's what I said, a teaching time saves man.
Okay, I've just spoken to CHAS, heads of assisted secondary schools. They're saying that based on what they see on the ground, they have no reason to believe that we cannot handle this and keep the children in school until they write the exams.
Yes. I detest, citing examples on, quoting people. But if my memory serves me right, last week, Nat and Nagrat were saying they should close down the schools. I don't know the teachers participating the children. So if the headmaster sits alone in his office, who is going to teach the children? They are saying they want the schools to be closed. What are they saying? Are they not human beings? Are they not being affected? My sister, currently, as we speak, in one of the reasons, we said those who are supposed to be boarded or free the government from it because of lack of facility, they still continue to be day students, commuting from home to and from home.
Okay.
They are there.
So you've
the
issued...
protocols are not being observed. The inadequate facilities, boarding facilities, as generated overcrowding. Besides, the nurses that the government promised that they will allow each school to have a nurse who attend to them, it's not forthcoming. The case in point is KNUST.
Right, Mr. Danso, so essentially you've issued a statement. No, I'm just indicating that you've issued a statement that contains all these concerns that you're raising. I wanted to find out how far you are taking your request. Apart from the statements, what are your plans?
Well, we have said it, and we are going to approach the ministry and the government. That is all.
Okay.
We issued a statement today, and so we are going to follow it up
with the ministry. I do have the deputy education minister, Dr. Osei Duchum, who will be joining me when I return from this break. So I'll urge you to perhaps keep tuned in so you can hear his response as well to some of these concerns. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Alexander Yardanso is the president of the National Council of Parents Teachers Association. You're welcome back to the show. Many thanks for staying with us. And when I wear my mask, you do know that I have a guest. We'll be going to the Education Ministry, by the way, to talk to the Deputy Education Minister and to get answers to all the concerns that have been raised. But quickly, let this bill, my colleague on Joy FM is passing through. He's joining me to tell us what's coming up on Joy FM's drive time this week.
Yeah, really excited to be here always. How are you?
I like your combination.
Well, thank you. Rocking my mask. Can
I get one for this?
Yeah, I mean, you're matching up as well.
Really?
You planned it out, didn't you?
So what should we expect this week?
Listen, so Drive Time is already on air now. We started. Today's a Monday. It's a motivational Monday. I've got my brother Joe Metal on Joy FM right now. If you're listening to me now and you tune into, I'm not saying that you tune off the pulse, no.
That's a pause there. Nobody can tune off.
Nobody can tune off, yes. But turn your radio on to Joy FM right now, and you would hear Joe Metal on. We are having an amazing conversation. It's a Monday.
That's him. Last week was his birthday, so I'm sure he's bringing some inspiration.
Of course, he's bringing a lot of inspiration. So he's on Joy FM today for our little conversation. It's been so good so far. I'm going to go back to continue that conversation. And this week, though, we decided to dedicate it to women.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
When am I coming? And when am I showing up on the show?
You'll be on the other side. You'll be listening. So a lot of our playlists. Tomorrow we've got an amazing battle, a musical battle between Beyonce and Rihanna.
Oh, wow.
Pick one.
Beyonce, any day.
Really?
Any day, yeah.
Why?
I don't know. I just like her.
Okay, well.
Yeah.
Tomorrow is going to be a musical battle between the two of them.
Okay.
They've got amazing songs. They've blazed the trail. They've done it all. But who is going to win this? Tomorrow we're going to find out.
And on Wednesday?
On Wednesday, So we have our drive doctor coming in on Wednesdays. Last week we had a conversation about men's health, and specifically
is it the one, the erectile dysfunction?
Erectile dysfunction.
Oh, right.
Now we got to also realize that ladies need help too.
Sorry. What was your take home from the erectile dysfunction discussion?
That the car needs repairs. So,
I see.
Otherwise, the engine won't stay on.
Okay, especially in COVID-19, you need to be strong,
especially
and
in
healthy,
this era, exactly,
and have repaired everything.
Well, so far,
okay,
yeah.
so that was Tuesday.
That's
Wednesday.
last week Wednesday. Now this week though, we're flipping the script, and because it's for women, we're trying to get the women also educated about sexual dysfunction. So the men got a little bit. Why do you have that face on?
Go on.
Why do you have that look on?
I mean,
you don't think women have issues when it comes to, you know?
I'm not sure.
You're not
but
sure?
But it's okay. Tell us.
So Dr. Yawa Safo is the CEO of Medical's Hospital. He's going to join me on Wednesday, and the women who want education about dysfunction in that area of life.
Okay, so what? Vaginal dysfunction?
Tune in on Wednesday. Open them crowd.
Oh, okay. I just want to understand so that my viewers will know what to be ready for.
Dysfunction.
You know? Okay, something
dysfunction in the bedroom.
Okay, so women this week on drive time.
Yes.
You're looking at something sexually related dysfunctions.
Let's just call it women's health.
Okay.
But with a little more focus on sexual dysfunction.
Okay, that's on Wednesday.
Yes, that's on Wednesday.
Thursday?
On Thursday, we have an amazing show. It's a throwback Thursday, good tunes, of course, and personality profile like we always do.
Okay.
The past couple of weeks, we've had Private Hammond, who's 95 years old, who's told an amazing story. This week as well, we have a guest that's going to blow your mind.
Okay.
So that's on Thursday. And on Friday, we've got a pop quiz.
Okay.
Yep, a pop quiz that will get you some amazing appliances from Whirlpool. Oh shoot, this thing is getting off. Okay, cool. Forgive me.
SHOOT, that's what he said.
Shoot, yeah.
Yes.
Well, what did you hear?
No, I just want to help my viewers.
So yes, on Fridays we've got a pop quiz where people are able to call in, participate, and win some amazing prizes as well. So this week is totally packed.
Okay.
With giveaways, good music, lots of exciting stuff on drive time. So from 2 o'clock till 5:30 every weekday, you know what to tune your dial to. Joy 99.7 FM. You can't miss drive time on Joy. And this week is yours, so you've got to come in here.
Don't worry, we'll be there. And you hear Lexus shouting on top of his voice as if he doesn't have any problems.
Yo!
Lexus, it's good to have you. So I look forward to another Monday for the list. But this week certainly is Beyonce for me. Well, get in touch with Lexus and
that's tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
But folks can go onto social media as well. Drive on Joy. We're trending right now as I speak. Get onto Twitter. # Drive on Joy. You get to follow the conversation and all the things that are happening on Joy FM. Yeah?
All right. Thank you.
Welcome.
Go and continue the show, Lexus.
I am going.
Lexus Bill, my colleague on Drive Time on Joy 99.7 FM. Certainly, we have a packed week for you. We want you to be our guest. All right, let's continue with our COVID stories, and the politics that's coming up with it. Well, the opposition NDC is calling on parents to take their wards out of the various secondary schools to avoid contracting COVID-19. According to the party, President Akufo-Addo's decision to reopen the schools despite an increase in the COVID-19 numbers is a clear indication that his interest is not in their lives, but in politics. At a news conference here in Accra, the party outlined 10 reasons for which they believe key indicators that the Akufo-Addo administration has lost the fight against COVID-19.
The NDC reckons that our current situation calls for decisive and forthright leadership to stem the tide of the marauding virus, which now threatens all of us. This is not a time for weak and tired loins, as the health minister and President Akufo-Addo have developed. Neither is it a time to place politically driven decisions ahead of public health. Clearly, our national response plan and strategy have failed, and we need to re-strategize and take some critical remedial actions to salvage our failing fight as a matter of urgency. The NDC, therefore, demands that the Akufo-Addo government adopts and implements the following far-reaching measures to to protect Ghanaian lives. First, we demand the immediate closure of all reopened schools, which were hurriedly reopened under the guise of facilitating the writing of WASI, just to make room for the Electoral Commission to register SHS students on their school campuses. Today, the Ghanaian Times newspaper reports that 10 more senior high schools have recorded cases of COVID-19. As we speak, Nigeria, a major participant in the WASI exam, has rescinded its decision to reopen schools, while Kenya has also decided to close schools until 2021. We urge President Akufo-Addo to prioritize human lives, to prioritize the lives of our innocent SHS students over electoral fancies. Also, we call on all and sundry to condemn the action of the National Youth Organizer of the NPP, Henry Nana Boakye, for leading the shameful agenda of making SHS campuses their hotbed of political activities during these perilous times. We further demand that in consonance with GES regulations, the headmaster of that senior high school in Kumasi be interdicted immediately in order to serve the ends of justice. Secondly, we demand that government deals urgently with high infection rates among health professionals by providing the required type and number of PPE for health workers. As a matter of fact, and I want you to listen to this very carefully, ladies and gentlemen, government must heed to calls to revise its narrow conceptualization of frontline health workers and immediately provide the required PPEs to aid our gallant health workers in combating this deadly virus. Let me add that the need for the adequate provision of PPE for health workers must now be situated within the work of a bipartisan committee, because we can no longer allow our health workers to get infected and die when money has been voted for that purpose by our representatives in Parliament. Thirdly, government must review the new discharge and recovery policy that allows the discharge of people with positive cases after just one test, or in some cases, 0 test. Much as government may be in a hurry to make our picture look good, a further worsening of this situation will completely shatter, completely overrun our health system, hence the need to tread cautiously. The new policy, which appears to be shoring up our recovery cases, is creating a false sense of security amongst the people. And our implementation of same, against the caution of the World Health Organization that there is a minimal residual risk that patients discharged under this new policy may still be infectious, has a tendency to jeopardize further our failing fight against the pandemic.
A false sense of hope, he says. Let's speak to Prosper Bani. He's a member of the NDC COVID-19 team. He's joining me on phone. Mr. Bani, it's good to have you. It's been a very long time. Good afternoon.
He's the chairman of the technical team of the COVID-19 team of the NDC.
Hello.
And,
I lost you at the beginning.
Well, I'm saying that I'm the chairperson.
Right. Sorry for that. Thank you for that correction.
And just for information, last night we issued a statement also on the school reopening of schools, as well as the registration of students on campus.
Right. So essentially what the party's position has been is for parents to withdraw their children from the schools. Isn't that going to create a chaotic situation?
Well, thank you very much for this opportunity. The recommendation to that effect is a build-up on our initial caution to government that the reopening of schools was not a good idea. precisely because at the time that schools were being reopening, our numbers were going up and death rates were increasing. Community spreading had intensified, and we thought that putting our kids in harm's way by putting them together in school environment would be too high of a risk for our country to bear. Even when the decision was taken against our recommendation, we further advised that should it be the case that students went to school, absolute support should be provided to teachers, non-teaching staff, as well as students, as well as far as face masks are concerned. Today, we are receiving reports from various SHS campuses that the full complement of the face masks have not been received, further worsening the conditions of our dear children who are just there forcibly by government to take their final exam. You will realize today that the virus has spread in a very fast way, and we are beyond 24,000. 20,000 discharge and recovery rate. And as you realize that the calculations of recoveries and discharge, it's not the best for Ghanaians to consume, because the reality is that division is absurd.
Right now, I've just seen your statement, and in the statement, one of the things you're recommending as part of asking the children or making the children go home is for them to be tested. You're asking for a mass testing to make sure that they are not transporting the cases back home. I know that your committee has been in contact with officials, with health officials, and you sent in your recommendations, etc. But is this a recommendation you have pushed to them? How did they accept it?
Well, we are not only emphasizing mass testing of students, but this is being called for because of the current circumstances. We have always recommended that to get control of the spread of this virus, our citizens must have a program of mass testing. That is the only way we will know who has the virus and who doesn't have the virus. When the situation demanded, institutions that are able to do so have tested all their staff and realized that they have been infected with the virus and have closed down. Why can't we do this for our children? Why can't we do this for our dear children in school? Boss, Ministry of Finance, Cocoa Board, the court system, all these privileged institutions have closed down because they had the privilege of the opportunity to test all their staff and realize that they have high infection rates and have closed down. Why don't we give our children the opportunity to be tested, to come out with the real numbers before we subject them to being put together in schools to prepare for their exams, which right now is a psychological challenge for our boys and girls to go through, because they're very much aware that the virus has entered their environment.
So just a quick one. I just spoke to Charles this afternoon, and they are on the ground, essentially. They tell me that...
Who is Charles?
Charles is the Conference of Assisted...
yeah, I got it.
Right. Heads of assisted... Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools.
Yes.
And they are saying they are on the ground. They're saying that the situation on the ground doesn't give them the impression that the children are under any psychological stress. It doesn't also give them the impression that this is a situation we cannot handle as a country.
Well, it's because they have not subjected the children to testing. so they don't know the numbers. Okay. That is why they can speak based on some level of ignorance. I mean, logically, you can only determine the numbers if you test. And if Cocoa Board, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Education, board, and others have tested their large number of workers, why can't we invest in the safety of our children?
Another thing you raise in your...
By investing in testing, so that we all parents can be sure that our kids are in safe hands. And indeed, the teachers and the staff will be even more confident to provide the necessary teaching and guidance to our kids to be able to perform well in the exam.
This will probably be...
that knowledge, it is very dangerous. Imagine a staff in Cocoa Board knowing that the one or two of his colleagues have tested positive. Will they be comfortable to go to work every day?
Mr. Bani, this will probably be my final question, and it has to do with the registration. It's an issue you raised in your statement about allowing the decision of the Electoral Commission to enter secondary schools to register final year students on campus. You say you also have an issue with that. But the argument has been mounted that these children, I mean, these young people who have turned 18 would have registered anyway, even if they weren't in school.
Well, it is based on the conditions under which the schools were reopened. Okay. We were told that parents cannot have access to their children because of the dangers associated with the spread of the virus. If that is so, why do we then penetrate these schools with EC officials, party agents, and other actors who go on this campus purposely for political activity, not in any way to encourage students to study to pass their exam? Okay. Under the circumstances of spreading the virus. This is the bit. It's not about, in normal time, we will not have any issue of having our students who have turned 18 to have the opportunity to register and vote. Great idea. But under these times that are not normal, why do we increase the chance of them being infected by sending political actors, the EC? And I understand some political parties have gone out there, even campaigning. This is not acceptable. Let us save our children. Let us provide the school environment conducive for them to learn and to pass the exam.
Mr. Bani, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. He's the chairman of the NDC COVID-19 team, Chairman Prosper Bani. They're speaking to us on phone. Well, let's get to the Education Ministry, get some responses to all of these concerns that are coming up. Deputy Education Minister Dr. Osei Duchum is joining me right now on phone. Doc, thank you for your time. Good afternoon. Oh, on Zoom, rather, on Zoom. Right, Doc. Thank you for your time this afternoon.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
And you've been following this discussion since we started it, so I'm just going to throw it over to you. Now, from the NDC side, the opposition, from the PTA, the National Council or the PTA, they are saying that let's take our children back home. We want our children back home.
Yes, thank you so much for the opportunity to be on your show. It's a great show and it's an honor to speak to your audience. I've heard the argument of the PTA. I've also heard my friends from the other side of the aisle, the NDC, making a political argument. And the sad thing about this is when they say parents should take their children home. I mean, you can appeal to the government to close down the schools, so we'll deal with that. But to encourage parents to go to school, imagine the stampede and all the things that will cause. I think cooler heads should prevail. If there are anything that they believe is not going well, we are listening government. I will work fast and make sure we fix any challenges. But the idea that you're encouraging parents to run the schools and pick their children, I mean, that is not what we do in the middle of a pandemic. We have to make sure we are making the right decision and right calls in the interest of this great country of ours. We had no illusions at the time that the president considered the reopening of schools that there will be challenges. And as he said at the beginning, when he met with Charles, he also met with COPS, the Junior High School Association. At every step of the way, from universities all the way down to junior high schools, the president was mindful of the fact that he needed to consult and consult and consult. And at a point, formed even another committee to look at how all the logistics will be provided. That was chaired by the senior minister. They did one of the largest deployment of resources across the country to make sure that schools could open. We also knew that there will be challenges. As a result, various measures were put in place. Close relationship with the Ghana Health Service and also Ghana Health Service, Ghana Education Service, monitoring side by side to ensure that in the case of any eventuality, they could ensure that our children are safe. That is what happened at Accra Girls. When the students were quarantined, they were tested. Immediately, they tested positive. They were isolated. That was what the protocol was, and it was followed. The PTA are making a number of statements, and some of them are simply not true. I'll talk to my brother, Mr. Damso. Maybe there's a breakdown in communication and he's not getting information from us directly. I'll make sure that we link up with him, and wherever there are issues that he needs clarification about, we'll definitely work with him so that we don't have a situation where he may be fed some half-truths and as a result make a call that will cause parents to panic. What we want to assure parents of at this point is this. I, as a person, understand. The government understand. The president understand. Nobody can take care of their children better than them. They are the ones who gave birth to the children. The way they would take care of them will never be able to take care of them better than their parents. Okay. But what we want to assure them is that the government has made provision for all the items that should be there to protect them. Initially, some schools got 2 face masks, others have gotten additional ones. We've also made a call to regional directors of education, headmasters of schools, that everything, the guidelines that we gave you, if there's any deficiency, please let us know. This afternoon, I was on the phone with Mercy, the Conference of Heads of Basic Schools, asking her any deficiency that is there. Let us know immediately. You see, these are different times. Our students across the world are looking at how do we manage this situation. Governments around the world, our neighbor Ivory Coast, the children went to school before us. Senegal, we have Sierra Leone, you have Cameroon, South Africa. South Africa even had a challenge during last week where about 31 schools had infections. They quickly shut the school down for a day, disinfected, and the kids are back. Everybody is looking at how to operate in this environment and ensure that the children will be taken care of in terms of their safety, and at the same time we can do education. The over-politicization of this effort, some people have been saying that we ask them to go to school so that we can register. It's
exactly, and that's a point where I want to come in here, the doc. Yes. I wanted to come in for some time, but I wanted you to make the point because we need to assure the parents, like you're saying. But the point you make about political argument and about politicization of this, isn't it pretty clear when parents cannot have access to the school? So in Accra Girls, the parents, went to the school. They wanted to take their kids away. Of course, we didn't allow them, which was the right thing to do because we know that they're putting their own lives in danger. But political actors, if you like, government officials, and I can speak specifically about Nanabi, who posted pictures of his interaction in the schools this weekend. And that's what got everybody talking. They're saying, I have my children, I can't visit my children, but a political actor can visit them. How is that okay?
Yeah, my sister, the bottom line is this. There are some senior high schools that were even registration centers for a start. And they register people from outside and register students at the same time. I will tell you this, as a consummate educationist, and somebody who believes in the president's vision for education transformation, and the president who, even in COVID situation, did not take the easy way out. The easy way out should have been let the students stay at home so that they will get registered at their polling stations. Very easy. Government could have made that decision. The issue is very simple. In places where students have turned 18, they have a constitutional right to be registered. And from my checks with Charles, the headmasters, housemasters were always at those venues where they made sure the students were doing social distancing. There's no better place for people to social distance than a school campus where you have a headmaster and senior housemaster and housemaster standing there, and they have chairs where students can sit. We talk about Nanabi. He has issued a statement, and of course, that he did not go there to campaign. He went there to just check to see how the registration was going. These days, we have to be careful with what we see in terms of pictures.
But was that his responsibility to do so when parents don't even have access to the schools?
No, I tell you this. What I'm saying is that nobody should go to any campus and do a political campaign. There has been an allegation to that effect. Ghana Education Service ultimately is responsible for running of schools, and they are going to look into those allegations that are coming in social media and on TV to actually see what took place. I think I saw a disclaimer from Nanabi that said he did not go there to campaign. He just passed through to see how the registration was going. But Professor Poko Amankwa, that I know, is going to get to the bottom of it. He's going to make sure that it doesn't really matter who you are, that campuses cannot be grounds for political campaigns. But based on what I've heard and read from Nanabi, he's making it clear that he did not go there to do campaigning and get the children to vote for any government. Let me tell you this. Senior high school students are not a monolithic group. They register, but when it's time for election, they decide who they are going to vote for. Of course, they'll be grateful to Nana Danko Akufo, and I don't think they need any reminder of anybody going there to remind them. But the idea that Ghana Education Service will support any campaigning on any school campus, they've made it clear that they don't support anyone going to school campuses to campaign. What I want to assure parents on this is the fact that we understand the anxiety. No parent at this point will not be anxious. The Gold Track students are into their 4th week. After the end of this week, they have 2 more weeks, and they will be going home, and will be left with the senior high school 3 students on our campuses. And we are praying after the Gold Track goes, they also have about 4 to 5, and most of them will finish in 4 weeks' time, and then they will go home to their parents. That is what we are working hard on.
I've run out of time, but I need to ask you this. I need to ask you about the update from the KNUST Senior High School, the investigation. We understand that a committee has been put together, and that committee will be inaugurated tomorrow to start the investigation. In the meantime, what's happening to those who were in authority at the time this happened, and who is on this committee?
The committee was constituted mainly at the regional level. Invariably, under these circumstances, they have people from different law enforcement agencies, and then from the education, from the municipality. They actually bring people together from different backgrounds to participate in the process. But I will tell you this, my heart goes out, and our heart goes out to the family that have lost a son. May his soul rest in peace. But I'll tell you, the protocol of GES was not followed under this circumstance. Forget about even COVID-19 situation. The protocol is very clear. A child who is sick and is a boarding house should be taken to a hospital or a clinic. And in this case, the hospital that has been mapped onto the school is the KNUST hospital. That student should have been taken to that hospital. And once they are on the way or they get to the hospital, that's why they call mom and say, "Mom, your child is sick." You don't call any parent to come and pick up their son, even without COVID. that is not a protocol. And most headmasters will tell you that that is not a protocol. And that is why the headmistress has been interdicted, the senior housemaster and other staff who have responsibility has been interdicted pending the investigation. But I'll tell you this, we pray and hope and expect that this will not happen anywhere else, because the life and safety of our children is too important to be toyed with under any circumstance, with or without COVID.
All right. Doc, thank you so much for your time. Unfortunately, we've run out of time, but I really also wanted to find out what actually went into the EC's decision to go in there to register. Maybe we can raise that topic another time. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon.
Yes, madam. Thank you.
Dr. Osei Oduchum is a Deputy Deputy Education Minister. We've been talking about coronavirus, so I guess you can understand that. My name is Gifty Ando Apia. Always a pleasure coming your way. Log on to myjoyonline.com, and we have a lot more news there as well. Let's take care of ourselves.